I'll make sure I fish it right to you. I'm gonna walk around. Oh, hey. You don't tell me what you don't. Happy New Year. Sir, ma'am, James, Vincent. Get the whole thing. I know, right?
I didn't get it here.
Mike's here. Very important. Okay, we're gonna get started.
Buddy. Thanks for coming out tonight. Great turnout. I'm Chris Grouch, District 1 Commissioner. This is Jennifer McMahon, the Chief Operating Officer. Unfortunately, Alex Ray, the City Manager, is not going to be able to be here tonight. He is having some issues with COVID, so not able to join us. But so we've got the agenda set here. We're going to try to get through things pretty quick. We're going to try to have everybody out of here by around 7 o'clock. So we'll just kind of try to keep things moving. And
we've been doing this now for a year. You guys were our first district last year, so we're now cycling back to year 2. They've been pretty well received. We just finished up with District 4 last month. And so around this time every year, we'll be having the District 1 meeting, and it'll continue doing that. So we appreciate everybody's involvement with it. With that, I think a couple of the items up here is something that Mike Clark, our Public Works Director, will speak to. So Diego Drive.
Good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mike Clark. I have the privilege of serving as your public works director. I'll take the first 3 for sure. Bogus Ciega, long time coming. Good Lord, when are we actually in? I'm sorry. Honestly, the financing behind this project is more complicated than the project itself, because we had to receive some grants from the state. The state's got a list of requirements this long and deep. But I think we got through the final one last week. And so it's moving through the procurement bid process, and we should see bids opening, it's November, maybe early December, mid-December, bids opening up, make an award, maybe the first or second commission cycle in January. Give contractor 30 days to get his act together, subcontractors, mobilization, insurance, and all of that. So I would be very pleased to see equipment on the road in March going full steam. At it. So, any questions on Bogus Ciega? Sir?
Yeah, last time we did this, when we had all the drawings out in the rec center, you said that that was about 30%. And then you said that we would see the drawings again when they were about 8%. When we were going out to bids. We never saw them at 8%.
It's my understanding that the 100% drawings are being posted online. But we're going to post 60%, but I don't know if that's
We haven't seen the fire or seen that.
okay, well, fair enough. I apologize for that. Between 30% and 100%, I have maybe one comment. Very, very little change. The stop signs, the landscaping, the intent of the project with the road, the sidewalk placement, all of that did nothing changed. We worked out on a couple of issues with the St. Albans Church, made it much safer there for kids and everybody.
We need specific comment. We need specific comment.
On the St. Albans Church?
Yeah.
Okay.
83rd Avenue specifically.
So the parking that's in front of the church moved over to the street on the south side. And the sidewalk goes straight through, making a very nice connection there for the kids and parents' traffic and the pickup and everything else. And we did not lose a single parking space. That's what I understand.
That's on the front of the church.
The parking in front of the church on Bogus Ciega moved over to the street on the south. Along the right of way. So there'll be angled parking Where right now it's just a right way in grass. So the angle parking places into there.
So is the city building that parking for them
Yes,
in exchange for taking the parking on Buckeye City Road,
in exchange for
utilizing that?
utilizing that space to make it safer for everybody, yes. Just so everybody knows, when we go into a project like this, it is our general policy to make everybody as whole as possible. So when we come in and we need to take down a knee wall, or we take out something, or we do everything we can with that. Doesn't always work that way, but we go into it thinking that way. We spend a lot of effort trying to do that. And it doesn't mean that the conversation is over with. A lot of our conversations take place with you and me or the inspector, taking their class out there in the front yard going, how do you really want this to get done? And then try to accommodate that.
So it's not a done deal yet?
The design is done, it's going out to bid, it's all legal.
Now, why
But
did
when
we
it gets
just,
down, when it gets down to brass tacks, and should that thing be there or should it be there? Then we will talk with you individually and understand what your preference is. Doesn't happen very often because we're pretty good at it, but if it does, it will be there.
see, I never saw the 60%, I only saw the 30, there was never an update online after the first meeting.
I will work very hard with our IT department to get it up on.
But if it's too late, it's already decided, we didn't have a chance.
Back to my first comment, where almost nothing changed. Okay, you're not gonna see anything dramatic, there's no drama here, it's very straight.
Yeah, but we didn't
straightforward
like the
road.
first one, so.
Right.
We're dealing with that.
Well, because it was going right down 83rd Avenue to make a one-way street.
That's all
Oh,
gone. Yeah, oh, we heard that commentary loud and clear. There's no dead ends, there's no roundabouts. There are some stop signs and speed humps where everybody has to be. I mean, that was a great public meeting. We wrote it all down and, I mean, to the best of my knowledge, everything that was asked for is in the final design.
Could we have another meeting on just that?
No.
again, Just to.
We're not-
So why are we here?
Someone's gonna lose 3/4 of the front door yard.
Yeah,
for a
10
period
foot
of time.
sidewalks.
I'd like to just plan for that. 'Cause we
So-
really think-
If you live on the bay side, you're gonna get a new curb, gutter, and driveway. There's no sidewalk on that, just like you said. The intent of this project, and the other project, was to move all the pedestrian and bicycle traffic to the west side of the street. So we could go from the school all the way up to North Boulevard. We've done that. Both projects have succeeded in doing that.
10-foot sidewalks.
Yes, it was.
Doesn't have to be 10 feet. No, it says 10. ADA only requires 5.5.
It's 10 feet. It's 10 feet.
That's ridiculous. That's
Well,
bigger than the street.
there are some legal requirements associated with these distances, okay?
I looked up ADA and that's not.
ADA is not part of it. ADA is entirely different. This is traffic movement and public safety. ADA is a subset of that. So it's 10 feet, shared bicycles with pedestrians, that's the
Which
requirement.
Florida prefers bicycles to be on the streets.
Yes.
And does that mean the e-bikes and the e-motors, scooters are gonna be on the sidewalk too? Are you gonna put a line down the sidewalk so we know which side we're supposed to be on? Those bicycles are supposed to be going with the traffic, John.
So they are, and I can't control that.
We're supposed to, but if you want us on the sidewalk, we're not supposed to be on the sidewalk, we're supposed to be in the street.
Yeah, people want bicycle on the sidewalk, they're gonna do that.
I know that, but we have bike lanes,
Well.
and you're taking those away. You're
it's
putting
a
us on the
10-foot
sidewalk,
Sidewalk, bicycle, pedestrian.
e-bikes and the scooters.
E-bikes are motorcycles. They should put the streets what's on the side.
So I still have a question. The point is, I think all of us have questions about this project. We have to have a separate specific meeting for just the project.
No, folks, come on.
You're taking the 16
We-
feet.
we
of
have
part of
spent-
my yard for a
We have
while.
spent
I don't know
hours
what's going
together,
on.
hours and
We
hours.
haven't.
Everything
No,
that was
you
asked
have
for
not
was in
gone
this
back with
design.
us, Mike. We
We have
encouraged you
not.
to have the first meeting, and it hasn't been.
When would you like to
followed up.
schedule
I'm
next
just asking for times we get
Chris hasn't helped either.
Oh, your
We have
commissioner is very, very
architects
good.
He is, but you haven't kept us informed. I've asked you. And you-
Let's try this. how about this? Okay.
So can I ask a quick?
Well, hold on, let me answer that one first, okay, so. I absolutely do not want to have another meeting, but I'm hearing the exact opposite from you. God, let me work very hard tomorrow with IT and get these designs and drawings posted, so you go to the city website, there it is, drill down to your house and whatever's going on there, you can see it. And then I'll work with professional grouse on another project. But it's still, we're going out to bid, this thing is moving.
And that's good, I think we want to do it.
And the reason I'm not worried about any small change that you might ask for, which we can certainly do, is because in the process of construction, we have changes. And so it's a little thing, moving from here to there, I can make a little change in a minute and just. Okay, so fair enough, everybody?
Yeah, I think at the meeting, we would learn how the chamber process works, how we put our information in, that's the.
No, you have no participation other than to ask. That's your part of the change order. I'm worried about this, Mike, I'd like that to be over here instead of over there, and we'll go out and take a look at it with you. And
Right,
then,
but everybody's trying to follow the city,
Oh.
we know how hard it is to communicate, so that's why at a meeting, we figure out what the process would be.
I just told you the process. Hey, Mike, I got a problem. And then I'll come out talking.
Can I just have one specific question about that?
Sure.
then? Are you still taking the entire right of way on the bay side for the first however many houses from here down to level or whatever?
I believe our,
Because that's like 3/4 of our driveway, which is totally cool, but I'd like to make sure.
if it was part of the 30%, it's still there. I don't think we go on the bayside path to the first street, set out the street.
That still includes like several of our houses.
Okay, no, stand by. Well, I think, I had a couple of them. Your Honor.
Clarification. E-bikes, motorized feet, not allowed on sidewalks and all of this. And as far as bicycles. Allowed it. You gotta do this. All that stuff.
Too many tourists trying to throw.
I'm always a tourist. It's, okay, we have just.
City's trying to take asphalt, put grass down like houses to get more green. Better for flow. Okay, we're taking 6 foot out of the bulky shed, make it more now. But then we're moving that concrete over and putting it back down. Would be, if you took the concrete out, then replace it just with grass. Instead of adding more concrete down.
The street profile was configured to reduce the lane width.
Yes.
So that keeps people more moving tight. Correct. And then moving the pedestrian bicyclists off to the side. The way to do that is to put the sidewalk. Ability of both of those two types of traffic.
Greenery, we could have picked up.
The question was asked in a similar fashion about another project. As it turns out, in the overall project, we lost very, very little. The balance is still there. We had lost a little on this project because it was so long. But the benefit for safety purposes to separate the vehicle, kids, cyclists. Florida's, we're number one at killing people on the streets, so let's see what we can to stop doing that. So this is our attempt to do that. Which is why this is an effort to go all the way to 87, all the way to Gulf Boulevard.
They only have 6 foot sidewalks down there.
Can't get it everywhere. You can't.
I talked to the school today, and they said, very, very few people walk our school. Let's put them on your street. There are a lot more people that walk to your Catholic school than there. They don't walk to the school. It's a commuter school.
I heard the message, I disagree with the message, I also design change.
How many there? I think she said 3.
I'm not gonna count pictures. Yes,
Yeah, on the 10-foot sidewalk, we're going to start addressing the fact that we are going to have bicyclists on there. And the bicyclists that you see going out, and I live on. So I can observe the traffic. You have some high-speed bicycles. They had that problem up in Treasure Island. They have a nice 1 mile landing, curbing on the beach sidewalk, and then just got incredibly.
Absolutely. So that conversation's taking place every place I never have.
And so Chris is planning to have some sort of reaching there, signing, but it'll never come up.
I think the fact that you have a 10-foot wide path is gonna be a little bit safer than having something narrower than that.
And what we do is sell it.
No, right on the street,
Right in my street.
easy day.
Florida lawsuits, you ride it on the side.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you choose to do it.
As long as you're not saying running over people.
And that's exactly the point there. So you said it more eloquently than anybody else possibly could. As long as you're being courteous and doing what you should be doing, this conversation melts away. But unfortunately, we all have free will and not everybody exercises it as nicely as the rest of us. So,
That's the ones you need to take care of.
and that's the enforcement piece the gentleman was talking about.
Yeah.
Follow up?
That oil spill that took place out in the corner, I don't know if you're aware. And you basically, all you did was just dig up the top surface. Keeping EPA off of that, knowledge. That will be included, there's about a 3-foot strip that goes about 20-30 feet into 78th Avenue.
Yes. I've been down there and personally walked it. That's all coming out. We,
That's gonna be in the bed.
yeah, everywhere that hydraulic fluid spread is going to be pulled out in depth and sent off to the landfill, and then we'll bring it back clean.
My question is, will 78th Avenue be included in the bed?
Not the entire street, but to the point that the hydraulic fluid.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to take care of that still.
Good enough. And the one last thing,
Sure.
who do I talk to about getting utilities buried and then?
We're gonna address that.
I think I got that one coming up.
Yeah, that one coming up too.
It's in everyone's interest.
Money.
Storms come through, I mean,
I will tell you that the gentleman's request is something that everybody on staff agrees with. Why can't we get these overhead lines underground? And the answer is money. Whose money? Yours, ours. Duke Energy's not gonna come do it for free.
well, I'm aware of that.
Every time I write them a check, every time Vince writes them a check, it's got 2 commas. First number's not a 1. They like their money. Everywhere we can do it, we do. We go after underground utilities very aggressively where we can get it done. So
That's a real good, I'll even for voting.
that was a $15 million project, both of them. So yes, we got it done, but it was expensive as all get out.
They got the money. we did.
Well, it's all our money. Pay into this.
I'm aware of this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was at the first meeting, I was wondering, can you refresh, what was the reason behind the narrowing? And the reason I asked, I'll just give
Sure.
a couple examples, totally non-contradiction.
No, it's fine, it's fine.
On Bocaciega, because of the lack of parking, so I'm at 80th Avenue, and there's multi-unit buildings.
Yeah.
And there's limited parking. So they park on the bayside street.
Yes.
And so in one case, when you narrow, they're either gonna lose parking or they're gonna continue to park there and block more. Second.
Let's take that one first.
Okay,
I don't know of a lost parking spot for that particular area.
no, I'm just saying that a narrower street, the parking on the street, a narrower street just puts them further into the driveway. Than.
So
You don't have to solve that, I'm just-
no, it's a great question. Thank you. When we talk about narrowing the street, we talk about narrowing the space that you have in your vehicle to drive. And it will be the same as Gulf Boulevard, 10 feet, 10.5 feet. The the space left over for parking remains the same width. So if you're parking parallel, you're still coming in parallel to your parking space, same width. So the space that we gained to move to a wider sidewalk partially came from narrowing the roads down from 15, 18 feet to 10.5.
Okay, so that area stays the same on the bay side. So
Yes,
the cars will still park along that street.
It's angled parking as you come to the north and slide in and come out. Keep going.
Yeah, I'm way down by eight at that.
Okay.
So like.
But the double parking, past those angle parking, that's what he's talking about, so we can narrow it down, when they do a park overnight, which is a double lane, a double yellow lane. You really restrict the one lane.
They probably shouldn't park there.
So, well, let me try it this way. A parking space is defined by space. It has to be a certain length, and it has to, there's other conditions around that parking space. And so, and those are all defined in standards. And so every place we can't put a car in a defined parking space of the proper size for safety, we do that.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just.
But the narrower lanes, yeah, you'll have to be careful so that you know, you stay on your side.
Mike, what he's talking about is they're parking on the bay side. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about they're parking on those
Parking on
spots.
the street.
Parking on the street on the bay side. That's what he's talking about.
We'll have, it'll be signed, and if there's not supposed to be a parking space there, and you're parking in an illegal spot, then you will receive an opportunity to, you know, add your money to the coffers of the city.
Yeah, that wasn't really what I tried before.
I apologize, I didn't understand.
It's more about the people that live there. I mean, they have a need to park somewhere. And so if they can't use those spots, which I'm not saying they should or shouldn't, it's not my place. But if they can't, now you have a tenant that has more people and more cars than can get in the spaces allocated. So they're gonna have to go somewhere. Where are they gonna park? I'm not asking for
I
this
didn't
all,
realize
I'm
it
just
was
saying. Was that?
I did not see in this design where we lost parking spaces for anybody that already has one.
So I wouldn't consider these parking spaces. This is just like, this is parking along the street.
If there's the ability to park a car on the street safely, it will be marked as a parking space.
No.
If it's not in the new design, if it's not, then it won't be marked, it won't be a parking space.
All right, well,
You'll park there illegally at your own risk.
I guess I was just letting you know, that you're probably gonna have another, not you, somebody will have another issue. Because now they'll be without spaces. And it's not your issue. it's-
No. Oh, so welcome to a perfectly designed reason why we should have another meeting.
Yeah.
Some of them have two cars now. Instead of one.
So when we come back together, get your pencil point really sharp and write your questions down so we don't miss anything, okay? Sure.
So there's a lot of landscapers that, you know, do great work. And they have trucks and then they have trailers. So they have difficulty many times turning the corner. For example, they get that into Buckeye City, a right-hand turn. By narrowing the street, they look at, I don't know how you solve for it, they can't drive a truck with a trailer, maybe they should do it, but they are. So I lost my deadlock twice, not mine, the neighbors, because they cut the corner, they drive over the curb and they knock out. I think that's just, maybe that's just something I'll have to live with, and my neighbors will have to live with, but that will be a byproduct. It's done by the garbage, sanitary engineers, it's done by it's happened by the landscapers. It happened when they were doing the work out here for the new valve. You know, so it's happened multiple times, it's gonna continue to happen, and I believe more so narrow, and I'm not saying don't narrow, I'm just saying it's a byproduct.
So there's always a byproduct of doing something like this, and that's one of them. It's inattentive drivers, not maneuvering well, doing what they shouldn't be doing, where they shouldn't be doing it. And unless a sheriff is present at the time that they're doing that, it's not forcible. So the design doesn't cause that. The driver causes that. There's space to move. All the turning movements are there, all the sight distances have been corrected. So if there's a driver out there who's going to continue to run over somebody's mailbox, cut the corner, run over the curb, do all those kinds of things, it's because they're a lousy driver.
Yeah, or they just don't care. I mean, honestly.
Exactly.
They drove all the way up on the yard to cut the blockage of the street. So people, people are gonna do a crazy part, and you can't avoid that.
But we can't design our community around the errant idiot that can't get his act together.
I don't disagree on it. So, just the last-
But your observations are all true.
I know, I just don't want to have to pay for a place like that.
Is there someplace else you can put the mailbox?
I mean.
Will the post office allow you to put it somewhere else? I mean. if it
Yeah,
keeps
there is
getting
some,
run over, you would
the
think.
postmaster will give you some flexibility. They should.
I really don't know. It's a nice, it's not like it's-
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on OBCA? You good? You good? You have one more? Okay.
And I'm not opposing, I'm just saying. So you have the recreational licenses, the ones that are out in the great work. On Sunday this past weekend for the last 4 weeks, I sit on my balcony and I watch the just to get good facts data to come here and talk to you. This past weekend, there were probably 50 couples and bicycle enthusiasts and kids and families going down the street.
I saw them.
Right, and it's outstanding, it's great. Move them to the sidewalk, okay. I've tried walking out of my home, it's happened 3 times, where bicycles are on the sidewalk, and there's bushes. And they almost forgot my dogs twice, because they're coming down there at Mach 1, and they're not being observant because. So I don't know how you enforce it. I don't know that enforcement is going to be possible because you would have to hire new staff to enforce it. So I just worry honestly about the safety factors, and I don't know what will happen with the enthusiasts that are truly out there exercising, running, at high speed, and maybe they'll stay on the road, and that's what we want to do. But it's and there's gives and takes, I understand, but I just worry about the safety. Well, what else said, I'm sorry, bicyclists do not adhere to, to pedestrian walking on the sidewalk.
It's not British driving, doesn't ride in the street, they won't ride on the sidewalks.
So let's look at it let's look at it from this perspective, which was what we were trying to achieve. We did not make any place on this road less safe. So anybody who's already doing something that was unsafe and continues to do it will have a safer environment to do it. But they'll still be doing something that's safe.
So if it was unsafe before, it's safer worse than, it's just unsafe.
Just the volume, the volume of these people riding.
So again, the individual who is doing their thing is responsible for doing their thing. We have given space for everybody to move properly and appropriately. If you choose not to do that, that's on you, and I can't fix that. All right, anything else on Bogaciga before?
I have a few comments and questions from Zoom. We have Mary, she's asking, why do we need 10-foot walkway in a residential neighborhood?
I think we've gone over that.
We've done that.
Thank
Why
you.
not- Why not just do a nice paving and bike lane?
Well, if it were up to me, I'd buy everybody's house on Bogaciga Drive and make a beautiful path down through there. What does that do to the neighborhood? I mean, no. I mean, so we are at where we're at. We've had this conversation now for 2 years, and we're there.
Will you tear down my palms and rocks and sod in order to do this project?
Well, it depends on whether or not it's in the right of way.
We've beautified our property in the easement. I would like very much to retain the current landscaping. Will this be possible?
No,
How far west will the west side of the sidewalk encroach on the lawns of Boca?
0.
What will the town do about reclaimed sprinklers on the east side of the sidewalk?
That is a fantastic question. Thank you. And one of the most complex ones in this design, believe it or not. Everybody that lives there has got their little irrigation thing going on through that palm or that tree or this whatever, and they're all different. And so for us to go into this project thinking that we could replicate ahead of time that which exists to serve your right-of-way plantings, ridiculous thought. So I stepped back and I said, okay, I know we've got to do this, and I know everybody's got a unique situation, and we're going to be talking with you. Hopefully everybody will be home when we, we'll have this opportunity. You're going to get an opportunity to work with our contractor to rebuild the irrigation system that services the plantings in the right of way. And what we did is we just parked an average of $1,000 per lot in order to do that. And so that $1,000 can have 6 lines going this way, or it can have 1 line going that way. Whatever it is that your particular frontage would serve best for irrigation is what our contractor will be working to put in. And it comes at the very end of the project.
So all the purples get taken out, right? All of these stuff's getting put in. The old reclaimed water, that comes first, it's all getting removed, right?
It's already been removed. All the laterals on that street have already been replaced. So that's correct. And so it's the small irrigation lines that pop off on the box that's in your right of way. After that, those lines are going to all be disturbed, ripped out. And then when we come back to put it back together again, to service the new reconfiguration of whatever that landscaping looks like in your particular property, we'll work with you to make sure our landscaper understands your needs and desires.
So 10-foot sidewalks are excessive and will lead to golf carts, e-bikes, and landscape trailers parking on it as big as a lane.
Those are all personal choices doing the wrong thing. So I can't change that.
If we have issues with the contractor, who can we contact at town to address the issue immediately? For example, putting their equipment on private property or overstepping and digging on private property.
Great question. For everybody, we will have a full-time inspector. He's very, very experienced. Most of you will get a copy of his card. You can put his cell phone number into your cell phone. He will be out there every single day. We watch the contractors like a hawk, but every once in a while, one of the subs gets out of control. We've got to pull them back. So we'll just apologize for that in advance. But our experience on the other road projects has been that once we get going and everybody's in the groove, those types of issues are very, very rare. And when they do occur, you'll probably have Brian's card, his cell phone number, you know what my number is. And somebody will be out there that day working with you to try to figure out what's going on and pull it back into what it's supposed to be.
Right. Where are the mailboxes going to go?
Right back where they were for the most part.
When the city does a project that restricts the roadway, they are causing a safety issue with regards to landscape gardeners, postal trucks.
That is correct. Everybody that travels down through there on a service mission, so postal, Amazon, pizza delivery, whatever, it doesn't matter what. If you're going to move, the moving trucks, everybody's going to continue to serve and service the properties for whatever it is that you're contracted for. And those folks are not new to the fact that sometimes the cities repave streets. And so my experience is that although they can get in the way, they don't get into the way to the point where it's really that much of a problem for the few hours that they're there. Everybody's mail gets delivered. You call DoorDash, DoorDash is coming. Freebie might be the problem because the tires are kind of low. Everybody, your services will all remain. There will be a day where it looks a little odd or weird. That's just one day.
Like the mailboxes are going back to the same place. So that means the edge of the road on the non-base side stays where it is now.
Yes, the mailboxes should remain on the curb at the location where they're at, or left or right a foot or so. Yeah.
So that the side of the road stays the same. On the non-base side of the sidewalk, the one that's on the outside, that line is going to stay. You're not going to go beyond that with the new construction.
On the base side.
On the non-base.
Oh, on
In other words, going
West
towards
side.
the house.
the west side.
Yeah, the sidewalk now is on the non-base side, right?
Yes.
Sidewalk's on the non-base side. The side of the sidewalk that's closest to your house, that line, that's gonna stay exactly. You're not gonna go beyond that with any construction.
Yeah, that line is called the right of way. That's the delineation from your property to the city's right of way property. And we do not cross that line. If one of the workers happens to trip and fall and step on it,
No.
Please don't take them to task.
No, just final construction. You
Final
still have
construction.
your yard.
Yeah, it's right on that right of way. We're not encroaching on private property, but, you know, we may fall down on it or something. There was one back there.
My concern is about speeding. I haven't seen any additional squad cars, anything. I still see people really going down 40, 50, 70 miles an hour on the street. How's it as far as-
I will make a note and we'll pass that off to the sheriff's office. I can't control what the enforcement situation is. Oh, great. Alright, so I'm moving on. Thank you. All of the overhead lines, electrical and communications on Gulf Boulevard, 75th Avenue, 55th Avenue is going to come down. All of the street lights are going to be replaced, and when they come back, they will be in a amber turtle-friendly color. Gulf Boulevard has been designated by the FDEP and the FDOT as what's called a wildlife corridor. That's something new in legislation in the last couple of years. And that's because you can't see Gulf Boulevard from the beach. And so that's our response to the environment that we're trying to protect and nurture. That project, the surveillance cameras all belong to the sheriff. What was that? Starting soon. Yes, coming to a property near you soon. The contractor is High Power. They are already on board. Duke has requested a little more time to do some redesign, but that redesign does not slow us down. So we'll be having what we call a construction coordination conference with the contractor, I believe next week. And all of the materials that we need for the contract to go and keep going are all in storage now. We did have some significant supply chain issues for the Colorado chlorides that we're working on. It's all in place, and I expect to see the contractor out there drilling in maybe 3-4 weeks at the most. And when he gets going, it's 6 months or so to get down through the whole thing.
Why are these garages not?
75th. Yeah, so you come from Treasure Island, you come down Blind Patch, you take that weird little turn on 75th. So when you take that left, you go continue south, that's where it starts.
What are you gonna do? Are you going to then do
She
76?
starts.
So isn't the whole strip, that neighborhood there, that St. John's neighborhood, where you're talking about?
No. On Gulf Boulevard, as you make that left.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, it's the DOT Gulf Boulevard, not the town's Gulf Boulevard. Yeah. That's fine, I'll get to you in a minute. That's the next topic. Okay, so heading down Gulf Boulevard from 75th to 55th is phase 1. We are in design and acquiring easements for phase 2, which is 55th down to 35th, all the way down to Don Cesar. So in the next 2 years, my expectation is that as you drive down Gulf Boulevard, you will be driving on the wildlife corridor with no wires hanging over it.
So there's no plan then to do 75th to 90th to go north in our district?
On Old Gulf Boulevard, right?
Yeah, I'm told.
Okay, if we're done with that, I'll move on to your question. All right, so it is the city's desire to place underground or to replace all of our street lights in the neighborhoods with the same amber turtle friendly light that it's just like, if you recall, I hope you had an opportunity to participate, but for about 5 months, we posted 3 different types of lights over here on 73rd. Ran a poll. The overwhelming majority was the light that was selected. So we were thinking about, okay, who's first, coach? Well, District 1. Congratulations, you're first. And so I spoke with Duke Energy's project manager last week, and they're still on gear to, in the next month or 2 or 3, to mobilize, to change out the street lights to the ambers, not moving any poles or anything, we're just changing light fixtures. From 75th north, from the Bodeciega Bay, or the pass on the west side to Blind Pass Road on the east side, all the way to 93rd. So that square sort of District 1 is our first neighborhood streetlight conversion project.
But that's not the burying of any of the wires that are.
Now, that's another project. So there's a thing going on called the Targeting Underground Project for Resiliency. And there's a couple of other names for it, but the Florida legislature has directed the power companies, Duke Energy being one, to do an analysis of the grid, select the locations that that go out the most and fix that. That project is two pieces. One is they harden the overhead because they can make it stronger. They can use better wire, they can use stronger poles, they can put more guy wires in, so they can make it stronger in the air. But at our request, they can also place it underground. And so every opportunity that we have where Duke Energy is going to do a targeted undergrounding project to improve our resiliency, we're requesting that they bring all the aerial underground. But that does come with a knock on the door sometimes, because the equipment that is in the air has to have a spot on the ground, and that usually requires an easement from somebody's property. So far, we've been very, very successful. I've had a lot of conversations with folks just like you, your neighbors. You know, hey, I need to put a little pedestal right here. It's about the size of a chair. I think this is a good spot. What do you think? Oh my God, Mike, what are you crazy? You're gonna kill me. Put it over here. Oh, sure, yeah, we could do it. And so, I believe we're 100% successful in placing all of these ground located appliances in places where it aesthetically made the most sense for your property. So I was very happy about that.
So that's for the underground power?
It'll be underground power.
Okay, because there's been people knocking on my door last year.
Yep.
They wanted me to sign stuff and
Um,
then I haven't seen them.
So Tom was the first person to call me, because Duke Energy did not say, hey, Mike, guess what? We got a program here for you. Are you interested? They didn't call. I found out because Tom called me and said, hey, they want me to sign this document to give away my firstborn child. My blood. And I said, wait, let me find out what's going on. So that's what was going on. That's where we're at right now. That project is moving along. Duke will have its own subcontractors, and I really cannot control that very, very well. But once they get going, they're just going to start going, and I'll kind of deal with the aftermath.
So if they're taking up the power and moving it underground, and we're leaving the old light posts that the wires go to that are just old wood, why would we put something nicer? You know what I mean, for the light. So we're gonna have an old telephone pole with a nice light on it, but the pole looks like, you know.
So the projects are related, but not entirely. So us changing the fixture is one thing that focuses only on the light fixtures. Underground, the electrical is not everywhere in District 1. It's only on selected streets that have a history of going out. And it's all, I believe it was all in the back lot. So those lines are running down between you and your neighbor's backyards. Duke Energy is trying to get out of there because of the vegetation and bring that out to the front and bury it. So the wire that feeds the pole will be underground, but unless the pole needs to be changed out because of a maintenance issue or safety issue, the pole remains the same. Wood.
The pole's gonna be there, but the power will be under.
You won't see the wires. You gotta be under the wire.
Wires going all the way down the street or to your house. I already have mine underground up to the pole.
It's a combination of both. It depends on what the wire is servicing, the wire that's overhead, what it's servicing. And so on a certain line, there's a number of houses. And so when that line gets moved off into the front by the street, it will continue to service those houses because they're going to drill back into your service box on your property. And it'll just drill right on and come back on again. Well, The lights and the poles.
I want to get rid of the wires and the pole. I already have.
The wire in the areas where we're undergrounding, and the pole is serviced by a wire that's going to be put underground. That pole will be serviced from underground in the future, so you won't see the wire.
Okay.
No,
When this started, and I talked to Duke Energy, obviously on the poles that are behind our properties on 78, 77, 76, and 79, the power, the poles not only service Duke Energy, but they also service all the communication networks. Verizon has now gone underground. My first question is, when I talked to Duke, they said that they will pull off all of their equipment from the top of those poles, which is the top 3 lines and the transformers, all that stuff. If Verizon and whoever else has lines on those poles, do not want to underground, they will cut the poles off and leave the poles there at the responsibility of whoever those other servicers are. Has there been any discussion with the city and those other services, other than Duke, as to what their plans are? Are they going to underground at the same time as Duke? Are they going to leave the poles there and they're going to be their responsibility? What is your discussions with them?
I have very rarely been involved in a project this complicated.
I'm sure.
Everything that you said is absolutely correct. Duke Energy has a very interesting position. Hey, we're pulling our lines down, chopping off the pole. If you want it, you can have it, but we don't care. It's not ours anymore. The tariff by law changes, so Verizon now owns the Duke Energy pole by default, even though there's only half a pole there. So we are working with the communications providers to join Duke as Duke subcontractor drills in the conduit. We're asking that they drill in the conduit for the communications guys also. We have not achieved a agreement on that yet. I'm working very hard, but well, I'll tell you what, these folks are, it's tough, especially when it's unprogrammed expense on the part of the communications folks.
I understand. Yeah, the second question I have for you is, obviously, I live on 78 between Gulf Boulevard and the Intercoastal and Black Path. And our right of way in that area is humongous at the very least. It's probably 15 feet at least inside of the sidewalk. And Duke is now asking those people to put their pedestals as a release on their own personal property, right on their property, not the city. Why is the city not allowed Duke to, and other ones to utilize the right of way so that it's not as intrusive on our property?
Great question. The answer is Duke is not completely truthful when they tell you that the city said that they cannot come into the right of way. The exact opposite is the truth. We have asked Duke to be in the right of way. And when I walked territory out there, a lot of the lines were moved out of the private property easements that they were going to ask you for. We pulled them into the right of way. And so there's sort of an order of precedence or order of march, so to speak. Duke wants to be as far away from the street as possible and everybody else be closer. Okay, I get that. The water lines are there, the reclaimed water lines are there, the gas lines are there. So let's put the electricity over here as far away from all the rest of them as you can. So it's going to be right on the back side of the right of way, not on your private property, but right like an inch away from it. Everywhere we can get them to do that. There are some places where we could not accomplish that. And they were very agreeable once we put our foot down and said, this is what we want to do. Duke, the undergrounding of the Gulf Boulevard lights are all going into private easements. Very, very little is in the right of way. Another reason for that is if in the future the city utilizing its right of way or FDOT utilizing its right of way wants to move another utility left or right or right to left, and Duke is in the way, Duke is responsible for the cost of moving out of the way of the other utility. If they're in a private easement, that's not enough. Duke does not have to do that. They don't have to pay that. So there's some finances in there, there's space in there, there's line density, or line design requirements. And everywhere where we can get it in the right of way, and at the right place on your front lawn, in the corner behind the tree or wherever, we tried very, very hard to do that.
Is there somewhere where we can see which streets are actually gonna be repaired as far as down over there? Is there like a map or anything like that? Is there one?
Duke's got a pretty good website. So when there's an outage, just go to Duke Energy power outage and they'll show you the gray area that's out. This design's up there. We'll see about tomorrow. I'll work with Brett to get with IT and we'll transfer that project over also. Tom, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, the only follow-up I have to that is on 78, west Gulf Boulevard, but actually east of Gulf Boulevard, because they haven't started marking the pedestals yet. West Gulf Boulevard. They're all on the property owners' properties. There's not one of them that's on the city right away at all. And I understand their concerns in a Gulf Boulevard environment because there's so much commercial environment, so much going on. But in properties like on streets like ours, where we've got a 2-lane road, it's got a right of way that was platted 50 years ago, 70 years ago, 80 years ago, that's truly sometimes double and more what that is. I'm failing to understand why the city is not willing to give up right of way to the property owners, thus allowing Duke to put their pedestals into property owners' property closer to the city.
Again, it's the exact opposite, Tom. The city, my staff, myself, we always ask Duke to get out of the private property, get into our right of way. Do that. And Duke presses back, and the higher up in the Duke organization you wander, the stronger the opposition becomes. And so
The question I had was right of way. The utilization of the right of way on those small residential streets in the future is probably less than 1%, if that.
Don't disagree at all.
Why wouldn't the city just provide the homeowners give them the right of way, deed it back to the homeowners, and then let the homeowners deal with it?
So you just crossed over from a staff issue to a policy issue.
I got you. I know it is, and you know us here, so.
I do not have the ability in my role to change anything that's out there in the field right now. I've done everything I can to get everything that they're going to do into a place that at least is not it's as least intrusive as possible. So my role is done. When Duke gets going, we're done. So, and Florida statute gives Duke Energy an incredible amount of authority to manage their utility. And sometimes we don't get that.
Well, thank you very much for your comment. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing out our time. You were on the front of everybody's concern. The phone call started ringing off the hook after years.
All right.
I think you had something to do with that.
One question on you mentioned the pedestal, which is like the 4 foot by 4 foot box they were talking about. I kind of held out a sign to allow them to go underground because they kept saying, well, you might have it on yours. And then finally, when I signed, he said, I can guarantee it's not going to be in your yard because they were saying it had to be placed in those places. I didn't want it. So you said if they told me that and then I signed, that may not be the case.
I would go with what they most recently told you because they aren't going through me on that. So if they told you that someplace else that you're better off with.
Well, no, they said it's not going to be. That's why I finally signed it. He said I won't have that box in myself.
Hold them to it.
Last year, when we were approached by neighbor, and I also, he was walking down the street, asking us if we had received the postcard, which we had not. And the young people that came to explain everything to us and to get us to sign, what's going to happen. How big this piece of equipment is going to be, and certainly the way you described, maybe a lot bigger than that chair. They couldn't answer my questions, and when they asked about transformers and such, and who gets to choose where this thing is going, and one thing is going to serve 4 houses, and another one's going to serve those houses, but they were not specific. And they wanted, of course, us to sign for easement. And frankly, I refused because they didn't seem to understand, they weren't knowledgeable. So you might want to pass that on.
Oh, good for you. That was the right thing to do. So in any large corporation, you've got new kids on the block. And they're
It
told,
doesn't help, it just.
no, they
slows
didn't.
everything down, and we haven't seen them since.
No, they did not roll that whole thing out very well. They started with exactly what you described, and what Tom described, and what everybody else. Some Duke Energy employee with a form, hey, you know, we're coming in here, we're gonna do this, and you need to sign here. Any questions? Yeah. And so that's the approach we took. We called them on it. And so as this thing rolls forward, if there's any issue that you have still, and Duke's not giving you a good answer, or they hemming and hawing, they don't have the right person, just give me a ring and we'll work it around.
I pity you.
Well, like I said when I introduced myself, you know, I'm here to serve the community, and sometimes that's not easy.
Mike, the other problem is when these guys came out the second time, I believe, I showed them the video. We got a high tide, wasn't even a tropical storm, it was a heavy storm. We've got over surge that came over, 5 houses this way, 5 houses this way, 5 houses. We had over 2 feet of water, almost got in our houses, but luckily, Monty and I didn't get any, got in the garage. And I showed it to them, I said, you guys have any idea that these streets flood? They didn't have a clue. And when I showed it to them, they all walked, and then that was it. I scared them away, they never came back. That was
Chased
it.
them away.
I said, no, and I said, you know,
Good for you.
well, it's gonna be a box, and I said, water's gonna get in that box. I don't care if it's concrete or water's gonna get in there. You're right. And they never came back.
In that group of people that were walking around, they have different roles. A couple of them are the heavy hitters, like your sign here. But in the back, there was a gal with long red hair who was actually the electrician. And she was listening, and she's the one I spent the most time with. I said, Liz, why can't you move this thing 10 feet over? And a lot of it had to do with line loss and size of wire and distance. So the longer the wire is between the source of power, which is the green box, and your house, which is on the wall, the thicker the wire has to be to service you with the same amount of power. And so Duke is a very, very standardized organization, and everybody gets the same diameter wire, which means the distances are all chopped up and tried to make, it's a very cookie cutter approach. It's very, very difficult, just shy of impossible, to get them to agree to move a large piece of power equipment over someplace else, and then have all of those associated wires be of a different size. 20 years from now, on the maintenance end of the piece, somebody's coming in with a truck with the size of the wire that's supposed to be where it is, but it's not. And it's like, and so they try very, very hard to be extremely standardized in everything that they do, and that's where the distances and the crunches get in. You know, 5 feet can make a difference. And so that's why they're very, very, very firm in what they're trying to do. All we can do is mitigate as to the best of our capabilities to try to get them to take into consideration the individual variances that everybody has. So in my walkabouts, I feel like I was fairly successful. I didn't get a home run, but I tried very hard. So that's that.
Great job. So this is a lot more complex than I was aware of, right? Is this delineated somewhere on the city's website information?
So that was something Jennifer and I just had to share.
Where
we're gonna try to, so it's on the Duke Energy website. You go to Duke Energy, in some places in the whole country, you'll find that, you can search hard enough. Give me a day or so, I'm gonna work with Vince and his IT department, see if we can pull that up and place it on our website. So if you go to Public Works Projects, undergrounding, click, hopefully I'll be able to get you a map of the affected properties.
And Duke Energy is being forced to do this, or they're doing it for their interests in it?
Both.
Nobody forces Duke to do
Yeah, so, well, yeah, in light of Mother Nature's continuing to punch us like a punching bag,
Yeah.
the Florida legislature said, hey, let's try to reduce the number of outages so that when we do have a big event, we have less of it. And so they said to the power companies, go out, find the places that are the worst, that go out the most, and go after them. And tell us what your plan is by the end of the year, and we want it done by the end of the year after that. And so they're under the gun by the Florida statute, Florida legislature to accomplish this project.
And whose money?
Eventually, it's all ours. Every time you stroke a check to Duke Energy to pay your utility bill, that's the money.
But the money will come from Duke.
Yeah, they're not coming after you for a separate check. You just keep paying the bills that you got.
Okay, so we're gonna take a step now and move on to the next item.
Yeah, just to keep things
And
moving.
so
and
we
I
have
think-
Jen McMahon on development updates.
Good job, good job. And thank you, Mike. We appreciate you
you.
coming
Yes.
in.
Just have like a string of updates, as you see on there, of things that we talked about last year. The Corey Landings project was approved in March. They've gone through their site plan review. They are now currently under building review. I think for the second round, we should get somewhere with them, getting that all approved sometime at the beginning of the year. And I would expect them to break ground sometime mid-year next year. So that's just a status update of what's going on there. They haven't purchased the Blue Parrot. They haven't purchased Charlie's. They've tried, and that might still happen and might not, but it hasn't happened as of yet.
What have they done with the brownfield?
There's a brownfield meeting here Wednesday night. A designation for the land property for environmental reasons.
Because they're saying, what do they have as far as, what are they saying, that there's businesses that would have contaminants?
I would say to come Wednesday and ask them. It's not a city meeting. It is held by the developer and their attorneys by
But
requirement.
they're gonna be presenting to everybody, and then they're gonna be asking for a resolution from the
Correct.
commission.
Correct, but the process is that they will, at tomorrow night's commission meeting, will announce that the meeting is this Wednesday. It's in this room at 5:30, and they will be holding that meeting. And then a resolution will be brought to the commission on the 15th, and then again in December for a final read.
Wednesday at 5:30.
Yes,
All
we did a similar thing with Haram Park.
Yeah,
That,
but that was the Marino, correct?
yeah, and I don't know what the information is on that.
Here at all.
I don't know what, Lever Rocks is all I know that was there.
Well,
Probably
Lever
people that
Rocks
have lived here a
Two
long, long time.
hotels, Right, so there's no contaminants as far as from hotels or restaurants.
I don't know, but
So,
I think you need to ask the attorneys and come Wednesday if you have
well, I know
questions.
our city attorney is involved, so ask our city attorney as well.
No, it's not held by the city.
Well, I thought there was questions.
The attorneys from the developer, it's requirement for them to have that meeting.
Is the developer giving us a point of contact that we can call?
For what?
That's the question.
About the development?
About what they're doing and how it's going. And, like I could ask them, if you don't get the Blue Parrot or the transmission place, will you cancel the project?
No.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a no, but
So my question stands.
if you go to Ram's website, there's a list of all different contacts there that you can ask questions to.
Whose website?
Ram, the developer?
Thank you.
Very quickly, you
Yes.
tell me they demolished that right from there, and then demolishing all the buildings next to it. What's going up there?
Nothing.
That we know of.
We're not sure
There's
yet.
no
but
plans.
They're demolishing it and then they're gonna be sodding the lots and leaving it vacant for now.
There's been no movement with Winn-Dixie. I've been trying for a year now to get a shared parking at least with them. I'm still in communication with them, so nothing's moved with Winn-Dixie. nor anything by the Don't Tell Mama. There's been no movement with those properties, the empty lot or the old Christmas store.
My whole
Yeah.
75th is
So I,
empty.
I think the last year we brought up Sea Hags, they came to us once, I haven't seen them since. So really the only thing moving is the east end of Cory right now.
Is there gonna be another traffic study for that? Or we're done with traffic studies for it, because some of it's sort of blatantly wrong on their traffic study.
You
Not
know?
185 feet on the turn lane to go on the main road.
Right now,
And they said in their
as it
traffic study,
stands,
they said it was 6 lanes and it's only 4 lanes on Pasadena.
well, right now as it stands, the CUP has already been approved and that's the time of this traffic study for the approval. And they have until the year to submit all their plans and get a full building permit with the city. And that's as far as we are with the process there. I'm not quite sure what's developing with the community meeting in the brownfield on Wednesday, and we'll find out more information from them at that point.
So does the city just accept traffic studies that aren't accurate or have omissions and errors in them?
The city had a consultant, an independent consultant, review the traffic study, and they found it concurrent to, acceptable levels of service that we're meeting, and that there wasn't going to be any degradation to this level of service.
Is there something I can pull up on city records for that?
We can send you the traffic study, you can submit a
Well, I
public
saw the
records
traffic
request.
study and I saw the errors in it. And I'm not even have a trained eye in that, so I'm
Okay.
talking about the
Well-
independent one. So there's documents.
We didn't do an independent study, we had an independent review of the traffic study.
Okay, so I can get some info from that.
Yes, we can have
synopsis on
some-
the independent
The review, yeah.
Okay, so really that's the update for any development that we are currently reviewing. Next up is St. John's. St. John's is redoing their fields. It's a project that they would like to bring their fields closer to the actual school itself, so they can have access to the building and restrooms and things like that for their kids. So we started talking with them about a joint use agreement where we can have the fields available in the evenings when the school is not there, to be able to utilize soccer field. They're doing a covered basketball and volleyball courts, and to have access with that. So we're in the process right now between the diocese and our own attorneys of trying to come up with any language with that joint use agreement, but we haven't really moved much further other than we got some cost estimates to do some of the things. So that is a project that St. John's is doing, and we're trying to have access for the residents to utilize those in the evenings and on the weekends when they're not using them.
Is it residents only or is it public? Just public?
We haven't gotten that far.
Well, I talked to someone and they said it was gonna be open to where anyone out of the city can buy a pass for $20 and use it.
I don't know where that came from.
Who did you have me call, Chris?
What's that?
Who did you have me call that one day?
That was Jennifer.
Yeah, I live right behind the school,
Okay,
so we talked and we were
a
talking.
$20 pass to do
You
what?
said that you could buy a pass, there'd be a gate, people could slide in.
No,
and
no,
go in.
you misunderstood. I
Yeah.
said my staff will have a pass to get entered, just like I do to get into City Hall.
But
And
people-
anytime people are there, a staff will be there.
And anyone in the city or outside of the city could buy a pass to go up there
No.
and have your guy
No.
let them in.
No,
So who's gonna use it?
Yeah, who's using it? Residents?
I will program it just like we program our gymnasium.
Who would be using the
At 10
fields
o'clock at night.
and playing soccer and volleyball, and who would be utilizing the use of those fields behind St. John's Church?
The community.
Is there lighting?
St.
Yes, there's
John's
lighting.
residents or Pasadena residents? Gulfport
Okay, this
residents?
project is St. John's project. We're asking for some access to it.
But you're allowing access, the city is allowing access for people outside of.
City run, with city run programs, it's not gonna be open and anybody can come. You'd have to sign up. If you're in a soccer league, staff will come there. They will be monitoring that. It won't go to 10 o'clock at night. None of our programs go to 10 o'clock at night.
Because we live directly across.
So
from
Jennifer,
the
what you're saying is that it's not gonna be open like a park.
No,
It's
and the
going to
school won't
be-
allow that.
It would be a facility where if there was a volleyball league.
Correct.
People had signed up for a
Correct.
volleyball league, and they may or may not be St. Pete Beach residents, but they would have signed up through the rec
rec center.
Correct.
To play in a league,
Correct,
and staff would be there because it's a city staff program.
correct,
And they would park in the St. John's parking lot, and they would go play volleyball.
correct.
And it's gonna be 9 lights.
Well, we have, or on the weekends, but it would have to be when the school kids aren't there.
Right, so like we said, there's lights, so it's obviously at night.
And then there's gotta be, depending on how many games they're playing, there could be, there's 20, if you're playing a soccer game, there's 22 people plus the next game, plus, so next thing you know, you have, 40 cars driving around.
Coming in from anywhere from the city, not
And
St. Pete Beach.
And there's people, that Gulf Boulevard's like a busy, pedestrian, there's people jogging, riding their bikes, exercising, walking their dogs, walking their kids. So now you're gonna have extra people at, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, extra cars. So, and from what I understand, the school's been, people were offered to do what they wanted to do, but the city has a grant that they want to spend, and is that correct?
We don't have a grant for this.
You told me the city had money and that's.
We budgeted for it.
That's why you want to do a joint event,
We've been in discussions with them for over 10 years, since I've started
About this?
working here, about joint use. They use our facilities, yeah, and theirs, and then they were wanting to do something where they were moving the fields. And so it just
But you have the money. to
spawned from
pay-
there.
pay for St. Pete Beach is using.
Taxpayer money.
I was told that they received a grant or something.
The school might have, I don't know about the school.
We set money aside in the budget if this project was to move forward.
So why would you want all these extra people from all over different areas of the Clearwater, St. Pete, Gulfport, Pasadena, and St.
Like,
Petersburg?
we have zero sign in our neighborhood, so now we have people we don't even know.
Coming in and out.
Again, we're in the very infancy of this. I can't tell you, we might have access to it 1 or 2 days a week. All of that has to get worked out. So I think these concerns should be brought to a community meeting when we have more details. Right now, we really don't have very many details.
But we never even heard anything about any discussion. We never got any.
We haven't had any discussions
And again, it's a St. John's project. It's not a city project. What?
You've had discussions because you've been talking.
with them.
I mean, up to this point, to allocate $300,000 to taxpayers' money for it, but you never talked to the community around it.
Yeah, it's a St. John's project, but now all of a sudden St. Pete Beach wants to be involved and open up it to everyone else. The school just wanted to do it for themselves. And they've been all people that are members there have offered to put covered stuff on. I was gonna pay for all the
Okay,
thing. 7 months.
He has his summer.
okay. I mean, that's separate.
Yeah, we all live there. It's a nice community. Now we're gonna have all sorts of people driving around,
I
there's
mean,
how many
the
nights.
flip side of this is that it would be an opportunity for there to be like a volleyball league where I live on 79th and I walk down the street and play volleyball and volleyball.
That's great. Yeah, my house faces right there.
I understand your point.
I'm just saying that there's two sides of this.
There is.
And I think what they're saying is that they haven't gotten far enough along in the discussion with St. John's to even have a community meeting. Because there's no, it's a thing that may happen in the future.
Well, it sounds like
And
it's
if
gonna
they get
happen.
far enough along in the discussions, then there would be a community meeting where people can voice their.
Well, they're
Well,
just
it's
saying we
like
have
that
to.
they've got
They're saying we have
$300,000
to
budgeted.
St. John's problem.
That's fine, along. Good morning, meeting.
I just, you know, that's gonna do our property value.
In our small little nice neighborhood,
And I'm more worried about the crime, the traffic on the roads, and the transits coming in and out. We have homeless people that knock on our doors from St. John's Church. There are homeless people that have been bussed in.
Well, I don't know how that,
People, they
yeah.
don't even, they knock on our door.
to
asking
get a
us
ride to the
for
south side, so you know what they want to get wrong.
Because
You know,
St.
drive
John's
this area.
provides some money and too.
And then, like I said before, that we had this discussion with Father Victor, if you're having issues with their programs.
So who's at the church, who's the person?
Father Victor is who your pastor is. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a lot farther than what you're leaning on. If there was already money allocated for it.
There's money allocated for it, yes.
We
And if I have a cost
huge
estimate to
part-
put lights in, yes, that's where we're at. We've had discussions with them.
And St. St. John's hasn't.
And the discussion happened in our budget meetings.
But the other part, there's plenty of space to put volleyball and all sorts of things.
And there's what,
That's a
there's
sports
some
complex
Little
right
League
there.
one?
Where in Moran?
Yeah.
Okay, but that park right now is utilized for a lot of special events.
Across there's,
Well, there are
there's just lots there that nothing's there, right next to where the boats park. Their trailers, there's a spot right there, that'd be perfect for volleyball.
Where? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Where all
So when you drive around by the condos, you come around the corner, to go back out how it's one way, right where the boat trailers park, and then there's park.
Oh, Egan Park.
Yeah,
Sorry, I thought you were talking about Moran Park. You're talking about Egan Park.
I'm talking about the street.
After Southwest Little League, what are we doing for baseball? We don't have baseball.
We're renting the fields right now with the where Southwest Little League went.
Yeah, there's already lights.
Southwest got absorbed by another league and they're renting the fields from us.
I mean, we've lived there for 24 years, the neighborhood, it's been a like fun, nice neighborhood with a lot of people walking around all times of night. And now there's gonna be extra cars driving around. People we don't even know.
Yeah, again, yeah, who knows? This is all speculative.
Well, with more people coming in, it's gonna get.
Okay.
Jennifer, I think what
Yeah.
Mike and some of the others are wondering, will us citizens that live in that immediate vicinity have an opportunity to oppose it if we don't want it there?
100%, 100%.
Yeah, and again, if this thing moves forward, we'll schedule some neighborhood meetings, we'll have discussions, we'll have a workshop. What was that?
It's already moving forward if you allocated $300,000.
No. You
Well,
know,
now's the time to talk about it with the neighbors.
And there's a lot of people who couldn't be here tonight that don't want to.
Right, so the biggest hurdle in this whole thing is a diocesan attorney and our city attorney.
that's as far as it's gotten.
They started discussions. If we can get over that hurdle, that's a big one. It might not get past that.
Well, it sounds like the city and St. John's is in favor for it. So why wouldn't nobody?
Exploring the,
Well, we didn't know.
Yes.
Right.
well, it was on our agenda for town hall last year and it was a positive response that we received. So we attended that meeting.
What the project was.
We don't have a description.
Well,
But we'll get the people who are opposed to it, because there's a lot of them.
what's the formal way to go about the people that are against it to do a, some sort of vote petition?
We do vote.
I mean, what do we need to do as far as that? What will you see as proof and putting that they don't want it, I guess? Do a petition or?
I think your commissioner,
Far down the road, then we'll have to, it'll come before the commission.
Why let it get that far? We don't want it. And Chris, are you for it?
I have been requesting basketball courts, it's been one of my big deals.
There's, as this moves further along, there will be a community meeting
And
before
again,
this.
we need to have more discussions.
So before this goes to the commission and it gets further along, there will be a community meeting. There will be a time for people to provide.
And I have one thing, so Chris, you said it's in front of my house, what if it was in front of your?
So we're gonna move on to the next item, but there
Honestly,
will be a
Mike,
follow-up
honestly,
at
Mike,
some
it
point.
wouldn't bother me.
So now we're gonna go to West Corey's Avenue and Fisherman's Park.
just an update there. So we finally, it was gonna be joint with doing some docks that Toasted Monkey was interested in doing, they have dropped. It is just going to be a fishing pier. We are in the permitting phase for that, just for the pier itself. I expect us to get something back sometime in March, April with that, and then we could see, get some costs and things like that and move forward with that. We've been at a stall for a little bit, but now we have moved forward with getting that completed. So that's just kind of an update there.
Is there a way to see how far out is up here to get?
I have to pull up the 60 feet, I think it was. I think it was like 60 feet. It's kind of like a octagon shape.
Is this the park on the south side of Woody's?
North. Corey Avenue leading right into Fisherman Park, yeah.
It's a pocket park, small park.
Is it gonna go out into the intercoastal?
Yes. That's why it's in permitting. Gulf Beach's elementary pickup. I know this was a big discussion. Just wanted to give you guys a status of where we're at. Mike, you can chime in anytime, but Mike came up with, we have been going back and back and back, and Phil is still here, with the school for over a year and a half. We finally got to some of the right people that we needed to talk to. We had to use a past school board member who connected us with now 2 higher ups in the chain on the school board. I think we got to who we needed to get to a few weeks ago. Mike's come up with a design that would wrap the traffic around the actual school using the city's right of way. I think it's wide enough for right of way there to possibly get 2 lanes that would be just utilized for that school line. So that would hopefully relieve the traffic on Boca Ciega that gets lined up in the afternoons. So where we left it with them at our last meeting is we are going to have a design, a proposed design done for the school for review, and hopefully move forward with that. So we finally have gotten a little where, but it took us a very long time. And Phil will tell you too, we met with the school just didn't really, we got nowhere with the school locally. And they didn't want to do anything to help. It would go blind pass and wrap around, correct, Mike? Yeah.
Turning where?
So,
To the north side of the school.
so, imagine
Turning
you're-
on 87.
So you're bringing your child to school and you're on Black Pass Road. And you're gonna turn on to 87, which is a street on the north.
Yes.
There will be a designated lane, hopefully 2, just for that purpose. Because the real road that's already there is going to be scooched over a little bit to the north. Okay? And there's going to be a separator where I designed in some landscaping and some stormwater management. I really wanted to keep parents and kids over there and normal traffic over here. So you'll get into your designated lane. A lot of you know that there's a bus drop off right there. Okay, so we've got to negotiate that. So parents are going to have to respect the big bus, vice versa.
Or do they use it on the best lane on the other side of this?
They'll have to continue. We'll work it out. I mean, and so you get into your lane and you take a right-hand turn on Boca Ciega, still inside your lanes. The whole traffic's over here. Drop the kid off, put the kid off, whatever the process the school wants to see at that point. You get down to 86th Avenue, you take a right and go back out to Blind Pass Road. We're not going to give you the ability to take a left. We're going to block you out. If you're, I think a 4-wheeler, you're going to jump the curb, go for it, but you're supposed to take a right, go back out to Blind Pass Road.
So they can't blend in at that point with the other traffic going by.
That's how we're going to design it. It's going to be an isolated pathway around the school and separate everybody out. There's no space.
So we're
It's kind of
trying.
an exciting project.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's Mike's creativity and engineering that got us to that point.
Yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, we're gonna do some.
Next on here is asphalt removal program. We started that this year. We've done one phase of it, a lot in your district, where we removed the asphalt, put in some ground cover or sod. Each house was different with different obstacles, whether it was utility lines or overhead lines. So we've worked with every individual house, so it wasn't like everything got done the same way. So if you drive around the neighborhood, we also have some before and after pictures on the city manager's page on our Facebook or on our website. If you want to go see some before and afters that we've posted there. And we're about ready to move into phase 2 of that. So if you do have property that you have asphalt in your right of way and you're interested in this, on that same city manager's page, you can click and send us a form that we would put you as part of that phase. So hopefully you like some of the results out there. Have you guys seen some of the results? Looks good, okay.
What's the purpose, purpose?
We wanted to create a little more green infrastructure, get rid of some of the asphalt so it would beautify the streets in the neighborhoods, and then add the trees for the tree canopy. Slate, sorry.
Asphalt on the right of way or the city property?
City property, yeah. If you go up and down a lot of the streets, the asphalt continues on the right of way. Sometimes people use it to park. Just looks unsightly, so I think we've done some improvements with some of those.
Is that still a voluntary program? I mean, I don't want that.
Still voluntary, but I'll do yours anyways. What are you gonna do? Just kidding.
Keep the parking.
Boy, he got clout.
Doesn't he? Light up the neighborhood. So this is, we've done this is gonna be our 3rd year. We did it during COVID just to kind of brighten up the season. So we have a competition, and each individual house can enter, and each district, we give out a $75 award. I think last year we also might have done like a tie or an honorable mention in some of them. And then we have neighborhood competition. So I know North Beach is no longer, but if you want to do it for these purposes or something like that, it's the area. We do neighborhood battles, and that neighborhood will receive $1,000. And kind of the idea is to go back into buying decorations and help fund some of that project.
Who won last year?
Was it Bella Vista?
No.
Three Falls Point won last year, so, and that's a good example because they don't really necessarily have an entrance, but they had so many people in their districts that decorated their houses, it really made that neighborhood pop more than some of the others. So I encourage you guys to get together and share in that, or just individually for your houses. Sarah, that begins to be able to apply.
That would be any day now.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working on
So
the floor.
check on the newsletters and our Facebook and all of that, and Sarah will have that information out there. It's cool too, we'll list all the houses and you guys can drive around and know where the cool decorated houses. Not every Julia Square and Bina always seems to get the ones that are tied to the radio station. Yeah, that's where it's at. So more information coming on that, but that's our 3rd year doing that. And then real quick, now that we're talking about holidays and it's November, believe it or not, Christmas, I'll just run down some of the things we've got planned. So Festival of Trees, if you've lived here long enough, you know, we've had it. It's been run by MAD. It was run by the Chamber. This year it's done by Empowered for human trafficking is a fundraiser for that. I think they've got over 50 trees. That's going to be in Haram Park from 5 to 8 on the 29th of November, so later this month. So buy your tree and you don't have to decorate anything and bring it home with you. But that will be in the park on the 29th, 5 to 8 o'clock. I believe they will have some live music and some other things going on too. But good chance to get for Festival of Trees. And then we've got our lighted boat parade. Will be always the first Friday, December 2nd. If you have a boat, please enter. The more boats we have in it, the better the parade. So that is December 2nd. We have breakfast with Santa on Saturday, the 10th. Also on the 10th, just as an FYI, Casa Grill also does their lighted boat parade on that Saturday. We are having a movie in the park on December 16th. That is Elf. So it'll be in Haram Park on Friday night. We have our mistletoe market, which will be on Saturday, the 17th. Our fire department is driving around all the neighborhoods on the 15th and 16th of December.
Santa and Sirens.
Santa and Sirens, yes. It's fancy.
Not just us driving around.
So there's, you do that every other day, right? There's a detailed map and times when Santa will be going by each of the streets. So do we have that on our website?
It will be said.
It's getting updated.
Okay. So we'll have that information. So that is our holiday fun. But last but not least, when we talk of fun, you have to talk about the library. Yay!
So we've got some great new services since we were here last year. We've got the Morningstar Investment Research Center. Does anybody know Morningstar? This is what the financial advisors use for their information. You can get it free on our website with your library card. That's the tricky part. You got to come in and get a library card. Free museum passes. I told you about those last year. We've also added the James Museum. You guys want to come? And the St. Petersburg Museum of History, those are new museums this year. We've got a great book club. It's all reinvigorated. It's a lot of fun. We've got kits and framed art. If you're tired of the art in your house, come check out a new piece of artwork. We've got Alzheimer's and dementia kits. If you are a caregiver or a loved one and you need some activities for them, come on over and get those. We've got newspapers online, we've got magazines online, we've got Canopy, we've got music, we've got movies. You guys, if you don't have a library card and you're paying for all this stuff, quit it, just quit it. Get your library card, you're already paying for it with your tax dollars. I've got packets over there, we've got lots of programs, we've got a new program in Librarian, they do great programs. There's packets, take them and go, and come back to the library.
Yeah, I've noticed, I noticed on several occasions in using the computer service at the Beach Library, you're cut off, I believe it's an hour. And each time I just had a number of things that had to go where I needed it for. And I didn't get the service certificate, so it was very vital that I go there. But you cut off our knowledge. And that's really impacts what I try to do. So I checked around and go for it doesn't cut you off. And the observation that I saw there is that there are out of the, what, you have 10 computers maybe? There were like 2 of us. And I'm thinking, if it was busy, sure, 1 hour to move on. But
I know, I hear this a lot. So we had it down, we had scooched the time down during COVID, but now that we're back up and we're running, we've opened that up to 2 hours a day, and you can be on up to 3 different times. So if you want to come in and do something for an hour and send your emails, then you can come in later on in the day 2 more times. You get 2 hours a day, up to 3 logins. So that's your opportunity. And I've had this conversation so many times. If we didn't have some limits, here's what was going to happen. 12 people come in because they know they can stay all day, and they're working from home all day long on your computers. So that's why we do have time limits, so that we can turn people over, and so that, but we have increased that time, and we've increased those number of times that you can get on, so that hopefully that works out better for you. And if it doesn't, you tell me, and we'll try to, but we do have to have those. Yeah, we do have to have those rules, because people push. Yes, okay, we'll be nice and we'll let you push one time, and then they keep pushing. You know how that goes. But it's better now than it was last year. So definitely come on in.
Yeah, I just don't understand the time. If there's, 5 computers still open.
Rules. Mike knows. Rules keep people as calm as they can be.
I always have gold.
Yeah.
I have a question on B&Bs. What are the rules on B&Bs in residential neighborhoods?
In your district, they're not allowed.
30
They
days. minimum.
vary.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be, I mean
A short-term rentals,
Short-term
yes, so
rentals,
those vary by district depending on area, but pretty much almost every district doesn't allow them less than 30 days. So you have to rent it by monthly. There's only 2 districts, either if you're in the RM or in the Passive Rural Overlay, where you can do it less than 30 days for 3 times in a 12-month period. After you hit your 3 times, and you have to go to a monthly rental.
Okay, we all live on the same block. For each of us is a different resident on 83rd Avenue. There are 10 homes on that block. One is definitely an Airbnb. You can look it up on Airbnb. There's a house on the corner that's being renovated right now. Somebody bought it. When I went to look at the ownership, it's in the name of an LLC. And we understand it's going to be turned into an Airbnb. So now we have 2 on a block that only has 10 homes on it.
And another problem is, it's on the corner, because I was on Boca Street in the corner. You're gonna have traffic there. You have school traffic to begin with. How many cars could be there? How many people could rent?
The home across the street from me had 4 different cars there
So
this week.
with code enforcement, the Florida statute changed the law. So as a resident, if you want to call and complain about a property, you do need to leave your name and address. Other than that, it would have to be the city would have to do the enforcement. We do have a really proactive code enforcement department that looks at short-term rentals, and believe it or not, we have a meeting every first Monday of the month, 10 a.m. just dedicated to short-term rentals. So if you know someone and
It's the only way to
and you're
stop it.
upset, the only other option is for code enforcement we do scan the searches on Airbnb and we
All they have
look.
to do is go on Airbnb and put in this address.
Well, you can't, they don't do it by address on Airbnb.
If somebody-
They show properties within a vicinity. They don't give you specific addresses for privacy reasons. So we won't be able to find it unless we catch the ad and look
I
for
put
it.
in a short term just to check and see if you could get a short term rental. I went to Airbnb, I went to their address, they said, when did I want to come in? I gave them from a Friday to a Monday, they said, okay, that's available. That right there.
Airbnb doesn't regulate city rules, so if people want to sign up, they have the willing to, but they are violating the city code, and
Right.
it will be a matter of time. Like I said, we do have a very proactive code enforcement system that we do find, and you could watch 10 a.m. the first Monday of the month. We
But
have a
definitely
whole
call if you
hearing
think it's going on.
dedicated.
Yep,
But
yes,
if you call
absolutely.
people, you do have to leave your name and address. That is
Absolutely
by
call.
state law that we are mandated to request that in order to
You're
investigate.
saying that it's 3 times a year?
No, so in your district, unless you're in the RM, which on Boca Ciega, there is some properties are an RM district. But if it's an RU, it's 30 days or more. If it's an RM, which there are a couple houses, I believe 5 that fall in that category in Boca Ciega, they could do less than 30 days, only 3 times within a 12-month period. Now, the 12-month period doesn't mean January, December. It could be from whenever they start, we find their first one. It could be February, it could be March, and it could be 12 months from that start date.
If it's 30 days, you can rent it out in 1 year, just so we have 12 months, 12 30-day periods.
Yes,
You could technically.
yes.
Just can't rent it for less than 30 days.
Yes.
Can't rent it for less than 30 days. And if you rent it, it has to be 30 days before you rent it again.
So
But again-
if there was a complaint, let's suppose that it did occur, and there was a complaint, somebody would check the lease that's there?
We have, that's what our code enforcement department, the city has the burden of proof of defining the evidence to justify violation. At that point, they come to a special magistrate, we present our case, and we do it by really looking at the Airbnb ads, we look at reviews, we look at just for advertising less than 30 days is a violation in our code. But for the ones that are 3 times, we look at the reviews. We have a very extensive policy, like I said, and we have ramped up a lot of short-term rentals this year alone. And we've been going at it a lot harder than we have any other previous year, so.
I watched the videos, they're good.
I would say
So,
on the Mondays that the special magistrate is here, there's probably on average between 5 and 10.
Really?
yes,
Every Monday at 10 o'clock. there's a-
No, first Monday.
First Monday.
First Monday.
Yes, sir.
Is there any more discussion about fixing the smell at the lift station, 87 Oak Street?
That's Mr. Clark
That's
back there.
coming.
But it is, it's on the works.
We're working on it. That,
Pump station, is currently at 60% designed for complete replacement, including the upgrade of the sewer system. In the meantime, we're fighting tooth and nail to try to keep the water levels at the right level so that the vacuum is full and it doesn't escape out to the hatch. We're not 100% successful, but I think we're better than we were 2 months ago. Yeah, it's not coming in at 20%. So, yeah, so we're working very hard to be in school to try to. Okay. Randy says it's coming. Okay, thank you.
All right, well, thank you, everybody.
Is that related to why we had the boil water during the Hurricane Ian?
No, but thank you, everybody, for coming. We can talk separately.
yeah, that was something different.
Yeah, Monty, quit asking questions when we're trying to go home.
So, is there a limit on the number of people that can rent a house?